Happy holidays from Bloodbath and beyond. Today we review All Through the House. There is a creature stirring.
Directed by Todd Nunes, starring Ashley Mary Nunes, Jessica Cameron, and Melynda Kiring, All Through the House is about a deranged Santa slayer who comes to a town and brings his yuletide-terror. He leaves behind a bloody trail of mutilated bodies as he hunts his way to the front steps of the town's most feared and notorious home. So what do we like? First and foremost, it's worth noting that this is an indie horror film and it actually looks really nice and clean. The production value of this movie is very high, and it's your standard Santa slasher type of movie. There's a lot of Christmas cheer and a lot of bloodshed, and what more could you ask for Christmas? Gifts, assorted gifts, tech gadgets and stuff, I imagine.
There is one more thing that we could ask for, and this movie also has it, and that is very attractive women.
Yes, the entire cast. So we have 3 main leads that are all female, all gorgeous.
And a bunch of extra girls who are also gorgeous. Jessica Cameron kicks it right off, and then we got lesbians. But enough of these holiday treats. We all know why you're here. And that is the gore in this movie. The killer uses gardening shears, and you see it going through doors, through stomachs, through eyes, cutting off fingers. He knows how to use this weapon for more than trimming flowers and weeds.
You don't trim weeds, you rip them out.
Some people may like the look.
Just gotta prune these dandelions.
What if it's cannabis?
It's not a weed. Oh, I see what you've done. Well, I didn't think the gore was necessarily over the top because you don't see a lot of intestines or anything like that. The actual bloodshed is great. The blood gags just all looked really awesome. The blood is a nice consistency and it doesn't look cheap. But this is really legit and you're gonna like it. I like the Santa. The Santa's mask is really creepy and the way that he moves around and stuff is really great. It's pretty threatening.
And what's creepy about him is the fact that they use a lot of extreme close-ups on his eyes. It's kind of like how in Black Christmas we're seeing the extreme close-up of Billy and his eyes. In this one it was the same feeling. It's awkward, it's uncomfortable, and it's really intimidating. I really enjoyed Melynda Kiring as Mrs. Garrett. The whole setting, the whole character, everything just kind of set the tone for what this film was. It was interesting because you're trying to figure her out, and the whole time you don't know if she's just off her rocker or just really psychotic crazy. And I thought she did a good job portraying this character.
Now let's move on to our dislikes. I'm gonna start this off with a counter to what John was just talking about. Unfortunately, I didn't feel the same way about Mrs. Garrett. I thought she was probably one of the weaker actors in the movie.
My life was not the same when Jamie was taken from me. You see, baby? They don't want to play with you.
She reminded me a lot of Aunt Martha from Sleepaway Camp.
Goodness, no. Now that wouldn't do at all.
I thought it was just way too over the top and I just really hated her character, and unfortunately she's in a lot of the movie. Something that's a little more common these days with indie horror is the production value generally far exceeds the acting ability of the talent. And unfortunately, I think that's what happened in this movie. Well, I don't think that the actors did a bad job in any sense. I just think that the rest of the film was so overproduced to the point where their flaws kind of stand out. The acting is better than a lot of indie horror, which is weird, but the production value is higher, so it just seems a little lopsided.
No, I know there isn't really a lot to this story, but I felt like they were really throwing everything at you near the end of the film. At the beginning, they're just kind of developing Rachel's character and showing that she has some dark past. And I felt there was a gap in the middle where they just gave up on that. Then they just rushed this whole backstory.
To me, it's kind of like a Star Trek ending. Just a ton of stuff is happening, and in the last 5 minutes they're like, oh, and this is exactly why, and now everything should just make sense. I really think that the tool, the gardening shears, were underutilized. A lot of people in this movie are just stabbed with gardening shears and not necessarily sliced with gardening shears. I mean, it does happen, but they're are more inventive ways to use one tool if that's what the sole tool of the killer is going to be.
I'm really disappointed because when I think gardening shears, I think Clock Tower, the video game.
Sounds crazy, but it looks like they were killed with a giant pair of scissors.
And I felt they could have had a great moment, like a face-off down the hallway, and all you hear is just the
Clock Tower.
I mean, it would have been nice to see a little nod, but you can't knock him because he may not have played Clock Tower.
When they're facing off against this Santa Claus, you see them in this moment of power where they actually knock him down and it looks like they're gonna fight back, but then they just like turn like 90-degree angle and just run away.
And that's unfortunate, especially when you have 3 female protagonists. I guess Rachel's character is a little bit stronger in a sense, but I mean, none of them are really badasses, and they should have been. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. All Through the House is a pretty straightforward slasher. There's not a huge story that you need to kind of try and figure out. It's just a bunch of girls and Santa just going on a murderous rampage. That seems to be what we get in the holiday season, and I'm for it. This Santa was actually unique looking because it had a darker face with some silver highlights. It looked cool. He used gardening shears, and when he killed people, we had some great blood and some excellent blood sprays all over the place. I did find some faults with some of the characters, and I did feel that the acting was a little bit lackluster, and the ending was a little bit convoluted. Overall, though, the film was pretty solid, and I would recommend it, so I have to give this 3.5 make-out mannequins out of 5.
All Through the House is a very nice film to look at. You got great cinematography, a really, really cool killer, and you get to see some really awesome kills. On top of that, we have nice looking ladies, and it's a holiday film. It's something that's just fun to sit down and watch with your friends. The downside to this is the fact that the story isn't that entertaining, but what do you expect? It's a Santa Claus running around killing people. That's what holiday slashers are all about when it comes to Christmas horror. It's just something you gotta accept. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this 3 flying grannies out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond. This month, we're doing nothing but holiday movies.